your phone. This is MUD 46 meeting. Let's call the meeting to order. I see everybody's here. Start with an opening invocation. If you don't mind, please standing and we'll say a prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for everyone here. We thank you for the love that you've given us. And we pray that you would teach us to show that same love to each other. We're all on the same team. We're all trying to accomplish good for the community here. Teach us to show some of that love towards each other as we argue and discuss and come to decisions that we make today, Lord. Thank you for this day. Thank you for all the gifts you've given us. And in your son's name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the text of the flag, which pledges allegiance to thee, Texas, one faith, under God, one indivisible. All right. Item number 3, comments from the public. Do we have anyone? Okay. Item number 4, do we have any adjustment requests? All right. Item 5 through 9, the consent agenda. Anyone have anything to discuss?
I'd like to make a comment on the budget. Item 6.
Okay. Go ahead. Make the comment.
The cost sheet here shows that appear to be in really good shape, that we're right on target. It appears that way. But what I'm looking at is out in August, I think it is, Maureen, that we're looking for needing to make a $227,000 payment.
Next year's budget.
It's not this year.
Right, you've already made your first payment of 227,000.
Oh, that's good. It's-
What's that for?
That's your portion that was Bear Branch.
Oh, Bear Branch.
Payment 67, correct.
Okay.
You split it all.
That's great. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, very good. All right, consent agenda item 5 through 9. I need a motion. Got it. Okay. I'm a second. Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda items 5 through 9, say aye. Opposed? All right. Item 10, receive and act upon a staff information regarding the upcoming MCAD Board of Directors election for the term of office January 1, December 2025 for Arthur Breedoff. Does anyone have any discussion? Okay, basically what we're doing is we're approving Arthur Breedoff. And
We do know that he's got one plot of land for director for MUD 1 and another plot of land in MUD 46. Just bringing up a point of observation.
okay,
Say that again, Fred.
He's got, he acquired last year a director's slice of land so he could serve on MUD Metro, I think it is, not MUD 1. And he also lives in 46.
Oh, okay.
So
That's Arthur, what you're talking about.
Arthur,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Just an observation, that's all.
he lives in Alden Bridge.
Well, it says he lives here, I think. Hold on, I have it.
Your action tonight would be to cast your vote.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And I'm just asking the board if they approve of me doing that.
yeah, no problem approving. It's just
And
that-
that's the only person, that's the only candidate, right?
Yeah, pass this to, no, that's both, one's, both go to him. One is the,
He lives in 47.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only candidates come before us.
47.
okay,
He's Alden Bridge.
because he's got our zip code.
It's a big zip code.
It is, yeah, okay.
We only have a piece of Alden Bridge.
Sorry.
We only have a piece of Alden Bridge.
All right. Well, is there any objection to us casting our vote for him?
No.
All right. All those in favor of Arthur, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? All right. And we can go ahead and do that. You have the official copy? All right, item number 11. Chris, are you giving that for each today or Dan?
We all are.
Okay,
We'll start with me, we'll go to Connie and go back to Dan.
okay.
I'm gonna start with is this paper that I handed out prior to the meeting. This is the corrected version for the one that's in your packet on page 40. You get one?
I don't know.
Tom, here you go. I have to.
That's official.
What this document is this is our internal spreadsheet that we use to track how close we are to drop contingency stages. So this is requested by one of the trustees at the trustees meeting last week. And so what we've done is we've just printed our form and then we've passed it all out to all the MUBs. So what you're looking at here is if you go to the far right under the misspelled groundwater production only column, you'll see 4 stages, 1 through 4. Each one of those stages has a different trigger point. It could be 70% of total production, 80% from one plant, 80, 85, whatever it may say right there. You'll also see where it says like voluntary or stage 1 says it's voluntary GRP issue stage 1. So there's 2 parts to the drought contingency plan. The first is related to GRP, which is tied to Lake Conroe. So if Lake Conroe drops, I think it's 3 foot and 5 foot, 7 foot, 9 foot, whatever it may be, then GRP is required to go into a drought contingency stage based on how low it drops. GRP goes into drought contingency stage, the woodlands and all the participants also have to go into a drought stage as well. The second part of that is related to groundwater production. That's something we can watch, and that's what this takes into consideration. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see it'll say water plant 1, water plant 2, all the way down to water plant 5, then at the bottom, total production. Okay. What we do is we look on the far left and where it says under water plant 1, it says wells. GPM gallons per minute. We take the gallons per minute, multiply them by 1440. 1440 is how many minutes are in a day to get the million gallons per day. So water plant 1, you have 8.63 million gallons of capacity in wells, just serving that water plant. Okay. Then if you go over to the far right, it'll to the left of consecutive days, it'll say MGD as of 7/12. That's the production of those wells on 7. Well, in this case, it's the day before, so 7/11. So what we do is we say, okay, on 7/12, it was 2.13 million gallons per day of capacity. We go back and say, is that a 70%, 80%, 85, 90, 95% of the capacity? So you're looking at the 2.13, then comparing it to what 70% of the capacity is for each one of the water plants. We also look and say, okay, what is total production? In this case, it's 3.87. What is that in relation to the total production capacity of just about 11 million gallons a day? And so next to that total production, if you see the yellow highlighted sections, water plant 1 has a total is at 25% of its total production. Water plant 2, 34, water plant 3, 42%. So right now, when we're looking at total production and the first trigger being 70% of total production to go into stage 2, 42% is the highest that we have at this time. So 28% away from reaching stage 2. So we printed this form. I understand it's a little confusing. We look at it every day. It was just easier. I wanted to show y'all what we look at. So this is what you see, but we track this daily. Well, in the drought we do, or not the drought, the summer we do. One thing to also note is the wells production is lower because you have surface water, especially because you have 50% surface water. If you go back to the last time I know that we issued some water restrictions, it was in 2011 with the big drought, before surface water, and all these numbers would have been at least double. because capacity is, half of the wells. The other half's coming from surface water, so. High level, wanted to get it out there. We're nowhere close as long as GRP keeps producing. The lake isn't dropping down to a stage in any regards. Other little note is Woodland stays in stage 1 water restrictions year round with the alternate water schedule. So we wouldn't issue a stage 1. We're just watching for stage 2.
Lake Conroe is at 201 feet now. And
There
so where is that on your scale? How far down is that?
201's full.
Well,
Full, right. In the packet, under the GRP report, I'll try to grab it real quick. We have the drop stages for GRP.
What page is that?
That was on page 36. It'll show you the GRP's drop contingency plan is located in. Conroe has to drop 3 foot before we go into the first stage, which is a lot of water that has to evaporate or no rain for quite long.
oh, I see.
Just informational, something that we usually do, behind the scenes. One of the many things we do behind the scenes just to make sure we know where the water sits. The other thing is we don't wait for it to get 68, 69% before we tell y'all. If it reaches 55, 60%, we're talking to Eric that this is coming up. We did that last year, around July, I believe it was. And if it happens again, we'll let you know ahead of schedule so we can get ER out there. That is all I had on everything Woodlands. Before I pass it to Connie, are there any questions?
Yeah, dude, Eric. So when you go into stage 2, does Woodlands water go into stage 2 as well? Okay, same trigger.
What's the lowest the lake has been? What was that?
That's 2011.
193.
What's normal? 201? It's only 6 feet. Question for you, kind of off subject. I noticed on page 24, you lost almost 1.3 million gallons of water for a water break on that above ground storage tank. Is there any way to capture that water and direct it to one of the township ponds that, how every summer they're bitching about evaporation in their lakes and property values and whatnot? Is there any way we can divert that water downstream?
Not diverting it. I know we've looked at this exact scenario in Mud 36. You'd have to actually reroute the ditches or put in underground piping to get it because not all ditches in that area or most areas go to those ponds. Outside of just letting it accumulate the ditch and then pulling it out with a truck or something, generally there's no way to do it.
Okay. Is that something that could be done with a minimal amount of piping paid for by, say, the township?
Quite possibly. We have talked to the township about various methods to keep the ponds full. One example being the reuse from the wastewater plants. It's a commodity that we just put back into the creek so they could put it in pumps and pipe and then they could keep the ponds full year round for a minimum cost.
So you are thinking about it. That's good.
Trying to help.
Yeah. All right, good.
I'll pass it over to Connie, who's got some items.
Just a second about that. You would have to treat it differently, right? You'd have to treat the effluent to a different degree than it's currently being treated.
No, so wastewater plants
No.
1 and 2 currently meet type 1 reuse. We have 10 permits and one has an alcohol works in Lake Harris.
Okay, good.
We're good to go. And
Okay.
the new facilities being designed not for reuse, but to be able to meet type 1 as well.
And that would be, for y'all, that would be that humans can be near it. Like, so you'd have to make sure.
Right.
Not for consumption.
Right, for recreation. You have irrigation only pretty much. You can go on crops and stuff, or you have, we can put it directly into Lake Woodlands and people could swim in it with us. So
What kind of water are you selling to Houston, to the refineries?
Raw water.
Is that coming from the lake?
Coming from a blend of
Yeah.
water down the San Jacinto River that comes to Lake Houston where our pump station is. And then we also have water rights in the Trinity River Basin that we're pulling from coastal water authorities houses.
Okay.
So in combination of those two, that is what's being delivered to the municipalities, agricultural customers, and industries.
This water you're selling them is more contaminated than, say, from the wastewater treatment plant.
It's untreated raw water.
Okay.
I agree with you. Yeah, we do a good job. I like where you're going.
Hey, if I didn't mention it, you're doing a good job.
That's all I have. Unless you have any
All right,
questions.
very good. Connie, you're prettier than he is.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's a great way to start, y'all. Well, good afternoon. I'm here just to give a quick update on where we are on the AC water line. So, we are going to be taking what I would kind of generally call as a proposal for, working from a condition-based assessment for AC pipeline to, the August trustees. And so I believe Eric is kind of working on what the agenda item will read for that, but we'll be presenting and then it will be open for approval if the Board of Trustees chooses to approve it, or it could be brought back to the board here next month. So we're working on it. We don't have really an update of where that is, but we're working through that right now. So we'll be in touch. We're working on that condition assessment.
So if he has to vote on it in August, you have to vote on it in August. We have to let him know how to vote, right?
Once
Or-
again, all I have is the update, so how the agenda is written.
And most likely they'll
So
present.
there's no plan yet to vote on. Right,
Right.
Right.
so
Most likely it'll come before the boards as well.
Could you just clarify a little bit what you mean by condition-based assessment?
Yeah, so we've received a lot of different memorandums and information from online. And so we've talked to a couple of different consultants to help us come up with kind of a plan of action for doing condition-based, so destructive, non-destructive, so using ultrasonic to come up and help us understand the condition of the pipelines throughout the system to help us prioritize and help us figure out if it's a 10-year program, a 15-year program, a 20-year, 30-year. We're gonna come about it with more data. And so that's what we're bringing to the table as a proposal for consideration by the trustees and the MUDs. So that's,
And so just so that I understand, like on the table right now is your budget for next year to replace AC line, right?
So-
No?
If I can, on the item number 13, the approval of the Woodlands Division budget, that is strictly the O&M budget. It includes no new debt, so the debt from 2017 has been in it every year. It includes the R&R portion of the project plan, which is pumps, motors, valves, no wastewater treatment plant, no AC lines. So the approval of the budget has nothing to do with the AC lines.
When will that budget be?
So the project plan, the bond funded items, those would be supplemental agreements. And so once, essentially at the end of phase 2 of the wastewater plant, there'll likely be a supplemental agreement saying, okay, we've done the study, we all agree, let's go forward, get the bonds, do that. AC lines, it depends really a lot on this condition assessment and the path that's chosen by the trustees and the votes at that time. So,
Okay,
yeah,
Thank
separate approval.
okay.
Right?
thank you all very much.
So a couple quick Bear Branch items.
Well, can I ask a quick question on page 38? Because I don't know. We talked about that yet. Page 38, it's in your package. I think you are very interested in fault. Tom, and there was the discussion about, that there was, that initial tabletop indicates the possibility that there is a fault.
Correct.
Okay,
That was the initial tabletop. So we've done, so Monday at the GRP review committee, it's Monday at 11:30, it's live streamed and in person if you'd like to attend. Our consultant will be there to explain what it's LAN and HPJ have done the borings as well
full
as.
disclosure, I work for LAN again, but I have no idea what is going on with this project.
So they'll be there to explain their findings at that time.
So you just invited us to a meeting when?
It's open to the public, Monday at 11:30 at the P&A office.
It's their normal monthly GRP meeting.
I just wanted to bring it up because I think people were very interested in fault. And I saw that was in there. I didn't know about a meeting, so.
Now, one thing, since you brought it up, just to keep in mind, our study was not the entire fault line. It wasn't, this is right in front of Woodlands High School. It was not at Woodlands High School. It wasn't on the north side of Research Forest. Our only concern is right around the Woodland for the GRP division's pipeline. So we had a give or take 20 by 20, 30 by 30 area that we were investigating, not the entire fault line. So just FYI.
Okay, the question was asked, and I don't think any of us knew the answer. Of all the miles of pipeline that you have, do you know how much is asbestos, cement, or PVC, or any other?
We did.
You do?
We have, it's in GIS. We do have, I have a spreadsheet somewhere. AC line is about 48.3 miles. The vast, we have 120 total miles of distribution water line. We have about 20 miles of what I call raw water coming from the wells.
That's SGRA's water lines. So WWA also has, which I don't have that number for you, but
Okay.
a lot more AC, the smaller diameter stuff that's going through the neighborhoods.
Okay. We're just concerned with the type of pipe, because different pipes have different expected lifetimes. I don't know if anyone's still making the old glass or ceramic pipes. Anyone using those anymore? So it's PVC.
A lot of the new pipes that I see being installed are either just PVC or HDPE.
Okay,
I don't see clay pipe. I'll see concrete on certain ones, ductile iron occasionally, Hobos occasionally, the fiberglass, but they're kind of specialty in some cases.
Depends on wastewater versus water as well.
As best
Yeah.
And it depends on the size of the line.
greatly does, correct.
any other questions? Danny, you
Okay.
next, or?
Yeah, so I can run through those couple Bear Branch items on your agenda. The first one is the dam rehabilitation, which that's the spillway replacement in the upstream soil cement. Last month, I reported we had a request for qualifications out there to get a engineering firm on board for that project. Since then, we have received statement of qualifications, and we are currently under evaluation of those. We're also continuing to coordinate with the Corps of Engineers regarding the funding. So over the next few months, we plan to select an engineering firm and negotiate with them on the detailed scope, level of effort, and continue to push that project forward. The low flow valve outlet, that is a carryover from last month, so that project's completed, no additional update there. Bear Branch monitoring report, typically in your packet, there'd be like a one-page emailed summary of our just routine inspections of the dam and the drainage system. That did not make it in there, unfortunately, but there was no new graffiti over the month of June. I think there was a minor damage to the fence that was repaired. And then the only real, you could call it significant event is there was a storm that came through in June and knocked down a number of trees in the drainage easement that our staff, along with our on-call contractor, has been working on cleaning that up. And I have nothing to add regarding the draft Bear Branch system fiscal year 24 budget that was presented last month, and I believe it's going to be on next month's agenda for y'all's consideration.
Okay, you had mentioned earlier in a previous meeting that Dan Crenshaw, you were trying to get some money from the federal government. Did that ever come through?
So that appropriation, which Dan Crenshaw supported, was the money that is coming for that Bear Branch dam, and that money's coming through the Corps of Engineers.
So it is coming through.
Yes.
Okay.
3.6 million.
And can you tell them the total project also?
And how's that distributed? Is that paid to you, or how's that money flow through the system?
So what I recall, it would be based on, our progress payments and kind of reimbursement type. And we're working on those, what that kind of agreement contract is with Core to receive that funding right now.
So basically, it'd be an agreement between SJRA and the Corps.
Yes.
Just one thing to clarify, that 3.6 million coming is not the total project cost. It's not 100% funded.
One question for you, whoever may know this, any update on the new general manager for the SJRA?
Probably better than talking.
I'll speak to that, yeah. So at the last board meeting, there was a selection firm, so to do a search firm, selected in executive session. So they have met with the selection committee, which is 3 of our board members, and senior management to kind of put a posting together for what we're looking for. And we expect that that probably will go out this next week. So we're hopeful that by the end of the year, we have a general manager.
Okay, so
Will that general manager have, be at least acknowledged to be the appointee before the budget's approved?
So we have an interim general manager. So I guess maybe I should say that. So Ed Shackelford.
I knew that, yeah.
So he's our acting general manager, so he will act on behalf of everything. So as the budget goes to get approved this next month, we're not gonna have a new general manager by then, we don't anticipate.
The last meeting, I brought up the point that it would be useful to whoever is the new general manager, that they do approve, or at least review the plans and the budget. So they take ownership of it going forward. Because what I've seen in my consulting work is during a lot of M&A, merger and acquisition work, either involuntary or voluntary, if you don't have a senior officer in place to approve a budget going forward, and things go sideways or worse down, they can go back and say, excuse me, that's not my problem. It was approved by the previous interim general manager in this case. And I just want to bring it up as a flashing amber light that
Right, so our board is one that approves so at the end of the day, our general manager is directed by the board. So it's not our general
is
manager.
accountable.
Yes,
Good.
so,
That's what I was hoping.
yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for not making that clear.
Good. And one last thing, and it's, Chris, for what you've done. At the last, a meeting that we had with Howard Hughes and WWA and Mud 46 concerning SFDUEs and plans going forward for development in 46. I made the suggestion that all documents from this point forward have some type of designation as to who presented it and gave it out, what the subject was, and what agency did it, and the date. You did that perfectly well here for this replacement that you did, and thank you for that. Even though you weren't in a meeting, you did a good job. Keep it up.
Okay, anything else? All right, item 12. Consider an act on purchasing cameras for the Bear Branch Dam area and modifying the fiscal year 24 budget. Who brought this on the agenda? Is that
This was discussed last month, so it's a carryover.
okay?
Last month when it was discussed with the MUDs, they were basically for the game cameras as a trial basis. They're about $300 a piece. There is no modification of the budget needed. So at this point, discussions were held last month. You pass on this item.
So we can pass on this item?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on.
These cameras wireless,
They're cell-based.
based, okay.
Past meeting, we remove it from all future.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
All your other partners agreed to move forward with it. So
Did you try putting up simple signs?
Many times.
Okay, so they just,
Basically lasted about a week.
they steal the signs? Okay, how about fake cameras?
Not, we thought about it. These are kind of the next step. They're very inexpensive. You know, last year we were talking about more expensive cameras with surveillance, real surveillance. Let's try this and let's see what kind of, data we get and how.
Yeah. Those kids are pretty resourceful. All right. Item 13, consider an act on fiscal year 24 budget for the SJRA Woodlands Division. So as I understand this, Eric, we will be directing our trustees on how to vote. All right.
it's for the O&M budget, SJ's O&M budget.
O&M budget.
Presented to you in May.
Okay. Do we I wasn't here last month. Did we see that budget last month?
Okay. It was
Okay.
presented.
All right.
I do have some copies if anybody would like a copy. It has not changed, but in case you want some copy.
Is there
I
any,
just want a copy. I don't know.
it was in the May, and you said it has not changed.
I have it all.
It has not changed. It reflects a proposed 2% wholesale water rate increase and a 2% wholesale wastewater rate increase. Although it's not included in the budget, the GRP rate is not increasing.
Eric, just so I understand how this all kind of works, like we set our rates later, right? We usually set them, I don't remember.
Correct.
September, October.
Right. We take the approved rates from SGRA, wholesale rates, and then we incorporate those into the MUD rates, retail rates.
Mhm.
Currently, we are conducting, or we have a consultant that's conducting a rate study.
Mhm.
First time it's even been done for, Jim says, maybe ever. And that is really going to help us kind of refine and identify what the retail rate's going to be.
Okay. But this will be like this rate increase, like we're saying, we're okay, it'll be included in there. So there's more than likely going to be a rate increase in our rates that we'll approve.
That's maybe, yeah, that's to be determined. That's not necessary.
And the GRP rate, that increase?
No.
No. Okay. I just want to make sure this GRP blended rate, $3.20, that's the same, right?
It is.
Okay.
The same rate.
Any more discussion? All right, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, okay. All those in favor of considering and acting on the fiscal year 2024 budget for SJRA, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, item 14, the Research Forest Drainage Improvement Project. Dan, is that your project?
Yeah, I'll update you on that. So it should be page 42 in your packet. We're providing a one-page monthly summary regarding status on that project, what was completed in the previous month, what is upcoming in the future months. One thing I do want to note on that is there's two charts on there, one showing schedule progression, one showing the billing invoicing. Scheduling is showing, I guess, 55% complete, where the invoicing is only showing 19. So there's some discrepancy there, and really what's driving that is the schedule is showing what the base scope of work items and those deliverables and the schedule associated with those. Where the billing invoicing also includes just over $400,000, and it's shown on the table there, of owner-directed services that doesn't have a very specific schedule tied to it and may not be used at all. So those were some items that were included in the work order, such as additional surveying that may need to be picked up to supplement model calibration, possibly looking at an additional alternative or sub-alternative, which the consultant is working on now. So just want to point out why there's discrepancies in the schedule versus the invoicing, but ultimately the project is on schedule and meeting those future deliverables and is on budget.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
All right, item 15, the Spring Creek Detention Study. Is that yours as well?
Yes. So nothing really to update there from last month. We are continuing discussions with the solar company out there to see if there is any potential for coexisting flood detention facilities with solar panels.
Okay.
So it's just simply discussions at this point, no agreements, negotiations, we're not into any of that stage, which is a lot better than previous communication. And,
So are these the permanent ones or the floating ones?
these are permanent pole mounted solar panels that they have closed out. So, and then the only other thing to update is we are starting, over the next few months to reach out to some, more elected officials to give them updates on the project and receive any feedback. So as we get any sort of, additional updates, we're providing emails to Eric, as y'all being part of one of the funding partners on this project. So there should be more to come, hopefully.
And just for recollection, this is just a study and there's no funding mechanism for this, correct? Okay.
Basically, it's there to get us in line for funding. I mean, that's what I would describe it.
Yep, and that's where, the benefit cost analysis comes in and, if those prove, advantageous, that's a step towards.
Any more dialogue with developers, or I guess with the other east side of the.
On the developer side, no.
Has it gotten any worse?
Ain't worse, but
Okay, not any better.
not really any better.
All right. All right, any questions for Dan? All right, item 16. Consider an act on a motion regarding the useful life expectancy of AC water pipe.
43, not 42.
Yes. Dave, do you want to explain this?
Obviously, my concern is it would take an AC pipe out way too early. And there's indications that from the American Water Works Association that it has an 80 to 100-year life and not a 50-year life. So so basically the early dialogue was probably there wasn't any agreement to study. There was a plan for condition-based testing. So since Connie mentioned that they're considering a condition-based plan and they're going to come between the trustee board, I'm willing to table this for a month and wait for the plan and see how it goes.
Okay.
So push off to August.
All right, well, let's table that in the discussion. Has any other MUDs passed this as it stands right now?
Well, there was only 2 MUDs that had proposed it. And 7 did adopt a version, something similar, basically saying that we want to go forward with condition-based testing.
Item 17, Katie, do you have anything?
Thanks for having me. Brian's on vacation, so he apologizes for not being here. I don't have anything to report to you this month. I wanted to let you know that next month you're going to see several items from us on the agenda relating to the legislative session. So we'll have a summary, an item to discuss the summary that we put together. We have 2 lobbyists from our office who are in Austin throughout the session. They put together a summary. It's on the Google Drive. So if you want to look at it before next meeting, then we can answer any questions you have about it. And then we'll have a few items for your consideration related to the session, things that they need us to change. They have some updates to the notice to purchaser that's attached to your district information form, mainly administrative items. And there is an increase to the director per diems that you can accept if you like. So those items will be ready for next month.
You retirees need that money. All right, thank you very much.
Cool.
All right, item 18. Consider the adoption of resolution concerning developed district status for 2023 tax year. All right, who's discussing this? Whose project is this?
Fred and I kind of shared it.
All
You
right,
wrote the letter, Fred. Why don't you?
Yeah, back in, actually before July 10th, in the last meeting, we talked about getting a base level of accuracy for SFDUs, both water and waste. And it was determined that the 6th and final accounting was really the 6th accounting, but not necessarily the final accounting. And we were hoping to get information from Howard Hughes Corporation. And they did participate along with Dave Smith, myself, Eric, Jim Stinson, Don Reed, Wilson McCoy, and Brian. And you can read for the purpose the two items that both David and I were very concerned about. I'll give you a minute to kind of take a look at that and see if you have any questions of what the purpose of it was for. And if so, either David or I'll answer it. Any questions?
I don't have questions, but I just kind of just want to read it out loud, I suppose, or just talk about it out loud. So you're saying in the first purpose of it, you said that the chart that was in the sixth and final that had specific water SFDUEs, the present number of water SFUTUs available, and the waste SFDUs utilized, and the present number of water SFDUs available. You want clarification and understanding of the accuracy of those SFDUs.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is the actual printout of all of the developed lots and undeveloped lots in MUD 46 from the sixth and final accounting. And it was deemed to be inaccurate or incomplete. And we then asked for an update on that. And when we got that, I guess, Wilson, you might want to talk about the work that you did and about this spreadsheet that you put together.
Sixth and final contain both existing and proposed. We carried that all the way to 2027. So those that parcels that change between the sixth and current, those are being tracked all the time. So if there's a new development going in or a change in land use, we're tracking that. So that's going to affect the sixth and final numbers because of these variations. Basically, it's changing land use, going from commercial, retail to, say, a restaurant or something that has a higher demand for SFDUEs. So we're monitoring that and checking that. I did hand out a new table from MUD 46 that has all of the undeveloped land and what SFDUEs have been set and appropriated for those particular tracts. All of it has been purchased through the sixth. So if you look at this table right here, you'll see that you actually have an excess right now, because there was one tract there that went down from about 307 SFDUEs for water down to 41.
Just so that I have an understanding, one home is considered one SFDUE, no matter the size of the home or anything like that,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay,
That was a study done in 2011, 2012, where they went and looked. I think you worked with them too, didn't you, on that? A lot of the water bills, and they categorized, the company categorized everything according to commercial, retail, single family, multiple family, hotels, hospitals. I think there's 12 different categories. And did some pretty serious looking at that. And we've taken those numbers given to us and applied that to all of the tracts in the woodlands. So that's how we're tracking something. Of course, that study was done, 11 years ago. So I don't know, it should be very close to what we're using right now.
Well, it's actually materially different than the sixth and final accounting, especially on the wastewater side.
Well, that's because some of the tracts have changed their
purpose.
usage, right?
Correct, right, understood. So would this current accounting now be the official SFDUEs for 46?
Yes, that is
You agree
correct.
with that?
We've got right now.
It's always changing.
Today, right now, this
It will
moment
never
today.
be.
It'll
locked.
never be an exact number.
Never.
Right.
Okay.
In fact,
Not until it's developed.
Well, wait just a second. You said it's always changing and that's fine,
Right.
but we're paying based on the sixth and final accounting. That number's not
We
changing.
have paid, basically.
We're continued.
I know, but we bought the farm. There's no way back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
we
You
bought
only
it,
need,
but if something happens out here that increases the demand beyond what you've already purchased, then then you go into a negative situation where you still owe now more for capacity because your capacity
About
is.
the opposite situation where they don't develop it, do we get a refund?
No.
No,
No.
money spent,
But you own that commodity.
but you own it. We have no value to it. We just paid for it. But the question comes in that we could talk to on the next point is that if we bought it back in, make up a date, 2020 at 2,500 per SFDUE, the replacement cost or the new cost of a SFDUE is what, $10,000 or so? About, yeah.
Dramatic.
So it locks
Where'd that
in.
come about?
It
Where did
locks.
that come from? The 10,000.
That was talked about at the meeting and it was kind of thrown out, but we never got a finite answer.
So I think he just made that when he made that comment, it was like a hypothetical comment that right now they just got that selling new SFDUs for, I'm gonna use a round number for water and sewer combined, about 3,500. So when he said 10,000, I didn't take that as gospel. I just thought he's kind of, it's a
I wrote it
hypothetical.
down.
It could be, yeah, I wrote it down, but it could be in the future, as an example, because he was using.
To Tom's point, if
Yes,
3 years in the future we need them, it'll be higher than what our cost would be now. So we're in effect locking in a price, but we're paying for it in advance.
Have we already paid for it, or is this
It's in our budget,
Here,
$500,000.
okay,
It's $500,000 in our budget.
So this paper that we were handed out, this one, the sixth and final, and I'm just gonna take water. Water SFDUs for undeveloped lands in MUD 46 are 618 SFDUs for the sixth and final accounting.
Correct.
Now, the current accounting for undeveloped lands for MUD 46 is 354.
Correct. It has dropped down now. So
Okay,
you've got basically, an
things have
excess.
developed since the sixth and final accounting.
Right, there's things that, in fact, this is what it was when I was left my computer today. Talking to Mike Mooney this afternoon, it's already changed again. There's
well,
one track on here now that is developed. Didn't know about it.
So just some
Yes.
general questions. So we talked about those two lots on Ken Lake Road. Remember those two down toward the end? They were apartment complexes before, but when we discussed it, basically they talk about a commercial building. They gave an example of a small convenience store, which they wouldn't build there, but that was an example.
You talking about the one on Ashland Way?
No, I'm talking about the one on
Talking about 19 and 20.
if you go to description, 19 and 20. So I was surprised. I thought that number would drop more dramatically because to me, the use of that property it's not going to be an apartment complex. It's going to be a commercial office building or a retail building. So I don't see how you need 129 and 69 for fresh water as an example.
To Eric's point, things keep changing. So we'll have changes here.
Right, as the change, square footage changes, the number of units change, it's.
I'm just saying,
Right.
what's driving a lot of this big number is apartment buildings.
the purposes of your original question are based on the fact that we were not convinced that we are
That's
undeveloped,
You get used to saying.
Developing.
Yeah,
a developing district. That is what the whole
that's
thing-
what started my
Yeah.
research, correct?
And from this, so for that purposes, would we take our current accounting and look at our total connections and say if we're developing or not? Because there's a percentage that comes into
I
play.
just got this today,
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
I have not done that math.
Well, you're not supposed to do that math. Our consultant is supposed to do that math, right?
I like to check on the consultants anyhow. Call me neurotic, but that's what I like to do, okay? And I would also, after I check it, would have my partner, verify that and give it to Eric to put his seal of approval on. Because in effect, we're looking solely at MUD 46. And one of the comments that were made at the meeting, I was concerned about the difference between the 3.5% and the 8% cap for annual tax increases based on being undeveloped and developed, which was your point.
Second.
Yes, so
So that's,
once we do the math,
yeah,
we will determine where we are, but to one point brought up by Brian in the meeting, he does not, or did not believe that any MUD has had more than a 3.5% increase, tax increase. I don't know the answer to that. I didn't research that.
So for people that may not understand all this, it's how much percent increase we're capped. And
Correct.
if we're developing, then our cap is bigger and we can
Right.
raise taxes to that cap.
Right.
And so basically, we're saying we want the lower cap.
Precisely, to
Because
protect our
we're-
constituents. You're right.
Now, here's the question I have
Yes.
on that. This board is not gonna raise taxes 3.5 or 8%, right?
Correct.
So why are you concerned?
Because it is a potential liability to our constituents, and we have an obligation.
How is that, if we don't raise taxes, if we have no plan, I don't see an emergency that drives that.
Well,
Why?
if we are a developed district, then if the emergency happens, they're capped. It's 3.5, that's it, okay? If we're undeveloped and we're required to fund something, the taxing authority can raise it up to 8%. That's what we're trying to,
They is us.
well,
They is us.
Change. So I
We're
think
right here. you know.
we can change. And so I think what he's saying is that we want to make sure that we're following the basis of this law and we're
Well,
change.
also,
we're making sure that
next year you'll do it again, right?
yes, of course.
So the catch with this is that if we want, let's say we vote to go 3.5, the next year, another board could say, we want to change that back to, I didn't realize that it's a swinging door.
So I can weigh in a little bit on this.
Okay, please.
I
do.
mean, the cap didn't even exist until a couple years ago. So
2020.
the board for a long time has, been
8%.
lowering the tax rate, not increasing it.
Right.
Now there are the kind of two different caps to consider, but this resolution and the exhibit attached to it are, they're primarily prepared by the engineer, and it's a study of the connections, I wouldn't advise that you make a decision on whether you're developed or developing based on the Texas Water Code's pretty convoluted definition, which is why we put together this exhibit for the engineer to look at those connections. I wouldn't think about the cap for the tax rate setting when you're making this decision.
The question I have for you is, if we set it at 3.5%, is it set forever or next year's?
So
board
if you
would be-
determine this year that you're no longer developing and you're developed, and you base that based on the connections, then you would be limited to the cap, but every year you have to relook at this. And so it's not gonna change though, unless your connections change. So if you did a large annexation, then you might change from being developed to developing
We're
again.
going to talk to that later on in this discussion and highlights, because we were presented with a 17-acre tract of land that's owned by Howard Hughes Corporation.
47, right?
I'm sorry?
47A.
Well, the specific, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the one behind the George Mitchell Library, 7 acres are in 46 and 10 were outside of 46?
It's one on Ashland Lane, yeah, 17 total acres are in MUD 46.
Correct,
And then you've got 43 acres outside,
which we can add,
which.
what he suggested that we add.
add.
And we haven't come to that decision yet. So we can very well change the number and go from developed to undeveloped if we annex that. And then we have to make a decision, do we want to buy the SDFUEs for those tracts of land? And I don't know the answer to that. I think we need to study it a lot more.
You already have this at the use for that tract.
For the one that's not part of,
That's correct.
that's not,
That was accounted for in the sixth and final accounting. That was taken into account, even though the tract was partially in and partially outside the MUD.
because it's developed or it's not developed.
It's not developed.
So it's on here somewhere?
no,
Yes, it's on that slide items number
17 and
16 and
18.
17. Those one tract 16 is in the mud,
What Fred is talking about,
17 is out.
so
but-
we wouldn't be able to. If we annex the 43 acres or whatever that's not in any mud,
Right.
then that could potentially change.
That is
Okay.
Are
correct.
these
That-
SFDUs interchangeable? If I don't need them in one tract, I can use them in another?
This is not.
You purchased X number for that, for your stone mud, and if you need it over here for another track, you can move that around.
And if
Just
we,
a clarification to that, to a certain degree it is.
Okay.
If your mud is, for example, you have mud 46 down here in High Oaks, I think it is.
Mhm.
Mud 46 in the far west, you cannot interchange those two because they're going to two different wastewater plants, two different water systems. Everything is different. So just,
And there is,
there are swaps and we do need to check. Yeah.
okay, and one more hypothetical. If we did not have the SFDUs purchased in advance and the developer wants to develop it, can we block, can we choose to not buy the SFDUs and prevent the developer from developing that tract?
More of a legal question, but.
If it-
I can tell you the
Does it
answer.
be annexing or it's already in the district?
No, if we don't want to spend the money buying those SFDUs, I'm not saying this is hypothetical. Can we do that? Can we say no?
Serve a tract that's already in the district.
Yes.
No, you have to, serve the tracts that are in the district.
It's the annex,
If there's
the
a.
unannexed portion that is not in MUD 46 that we have the option of saying no to. Correct?
But then the developer could just go to another mud and say, will you annex us?
That's exactly what they would do.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
And districts turn down annexations all the time for different reasons. I mean,
All right.
You know, I was gonna change topics. Are we done on that?
Yeah, we're done.
So on 16 and 17, they're the same R numbers. That's plotted.
yes, we are the same R number.
So, and again, I apologize. I have a notebook and I must have picked up the wrong notebook. But if my memory serves me right, that track in its entirety on MCAT is like 43 acres. And you have it as 60 acres. So I think that's, you know, I just checked it today. You know, I put that R number and plotted it out again. I had it with me. I must have left it on the counter.
Where do you show how many acres?
Now that's,
It's in the line, the description.
Oh, I see.
See, it's in the
Okay,
description.
gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
And so what happens is, I'd say 1/3 of that acreage is in our mud. The other 2/3, visually looking at the plot, is not in our mud. It had to be annexed. And,
Correct.
you know, the thing that surprised me today, looking, I checked. You know, that's not in Conroe ISD. That whole, you know, 47 acres or 43 acres of land, it's actually served by Magnolia ISD. I was surprised by that. Being,
Mhm.
you know, curiosity thought, but
Point really quick where we're talking about on that map.
oh, where's Mitchell Library up here?
No, to the left, there you
So
go.
here's Mitchell right here,
Right.
right? And so this thing comes up right around here and see that boundary line?
Yeah.
It goes around there and comes around here and goes like this. It's all not in the floodplain. But it's that area when you hit Mitchell and this block right through here, you can see a little line, that's one boundary, this is another boundary, and another boundary goes like that. And I think it's 40, maybe 47 acres. And the portion that's here, you draw a line between here and there, that's in our mud. The portion that isn't is this section right here. It's not in our mud.
And our map is just out of date, obviously from 2018.
What's that?
Our map is out of date. That map is out of date, I guess.
It's out of date in the sense that 69 shows it's not, you know, it's white. I don't know what white stands for.
White means not in.
Not in our,
Not in
Well,
our-
if I'm hitting it right, where's Mitchell Library? Maybe I have the wrong area.
you're close.
Yeah. Here's the high school. So this is what's this here? Parking lot? Parking lot. Oh, maybe I'm lost. Where's the Mitchell Library? Is that it right here?
Okay.
It's a 5-year-old map.
Under your finger.
Okay, so Wilson, just so that I understand, you said 16 is the 17 acre. 17 is the 43 acre. You're saying 43, the 43 acre is not in our mud, but the notes say that no extra SFDUs are needed for it? Because
Well, they're mixed in with the 17, so the 893 includes, the way I interpret it, the apartments that are the land that's in our mud and out of the
Where's
mud.
893? I'm sorry.
It's in the Ashland
Oh,
way,
okay.
sports, it says sports park, but maybe that's what it was labeled long ago.
looks like the majority of that decrease is just in that track, that 16 track. Like, it looks like everything else is hitting the exact same from 6 and then current. So the developer just said, we don't need that many?
Over time, things change, and as soon as you made it, okay, we don't want to go this way, let's go this route. It's been a while back.
Yeah.
Here's your track right here.
What's that? Yeah, okay.
That's the piece that's in and that's the piece that's out.
Where's the library? Library, I mean, Mitchell, right here? Okay,
So that's in.
okay, so I was being blind. It's down.
All right.
It's down.
Do we need to act on this? Okay.
Well, I could just to be a little more clear than I was earlier, while this determination does affect y'all's tax rate setting when you're ready to do that, and if you have the certified values in August, which I doubt you will, then you could start the tax rate setting process in August. You probably won't have them by then. So usually we like to have this resolution done ahead of time, but before the tax rate setting process really starts. But this decision is going to be made each year by the then current board, as will the tax rate setting itself, will be made by that
Do we
board.
need the consultant to relook at this? And
So yeah, we can look at that, and you could defer on the resolution until next month, but trying to cap I wouldn't advise that you determine that you're developed if the numbers don't point to that, just so that you're capped for the tax rate, because next year the board could change for some reason.
votes will change
They
it.
could make a different decision.
And I believe their initial conversation was focused on the actual SFDUEs, not
Correct.
necessarily the tax.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
interesting thing is you as a district are right on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
And most districts aren't that.
Yeah.
Right there where you are.
I mean, the good thing about the dialogue is that this chart has changed dramatically. It's much more informative than the old
That's a
table.
good thing.
Yeah.
And so
I've
we
got
I think
the
we
old
have a clearer
table,
picture.
and that's why I asked the question, and Wilson said this is the current accounting and this is what we should base it on, but it will change next year.
I think what we haven't got yet is, in order to make that percentage calculation, you have to have, how big is the district now? How many SFUs? I mean, I know that exists somewhere. I just don't. What I think we're missing is how many have been consumed since they paid for the 2018.
What we can do is forward this new model or this new spreadsheet to LJ, who's done that calculation for you. The next one, they can come back, do the math, show you what the percentage.
Correct. That's
coverage is.
exactly what the purpose of that meeting was.
Yes.
Excellent.
We'll make sure it gets over to LJA so they can update their exhibit that we have for that.
The only other item that I'd like to bring up are the action items. You can go review this and at your leisure, but the ones that I did not have any dates on, I wrote to be confirmed, and it pretty much all falls with Howard Hughes Corporation to give us that data. So as I look at it, Dan's not here, and let's see, the Marshall is not here. Oh, Marshall, you're Marshall. Hi.
I am here. I was gonna introduce myself after the meeting. He was in attendance, no longer with Howard Hughes, so either myself or Dan be representing Howard Hughes.
Excellent. Do you have a copy of this request? It's in the package. If you don't, we can get you a package.
I do not have a copy of that.
Okay.
Did you change this from the draft?
No, I did.
What?
I did.
This sheet, is this your new sheet?
I've not seen that.
That's mine.
Oh, that's what you wrote.
No, I didn't change it. The only thing I changed is what I sent to you and Eric. and Shelley, which was included in the packet.
Yeah, you have the word annex there.
What now?
You use the word annex. I think that's I don't have one. I could swear I brought a notebook with me that seems to. Yeah, do you have a copy in this? If you look at your copy toward the bottom, it has the words, use the word, we need the annexation. And really, we have that already, except for the one lot.
Okay.
And then again, I think there you have your acreage numbers wrong with the 47 and 17 or, you know what I mean? But those are the two corrections I had.
Okay, we'll make those corrections then.
So we will
Yeah.
discuss this next month?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Item 18. Me.
19.
Item 19, I'm gonna take that. Some of the other MUDs have tabled it as well, and that project is not done. So let's move on to item 20. General Manager's report.
All right, good afternoon, thank you. Just a couple quick things. The, as the trustees directed me to do, I completed a letter of commendation, which I read aloud at the last SDRA board meeting to the board of directors. It was well received. I think everything went pretty well there. Wanted to note that the Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District has announced their selection of their new GM. Her name is Sarah, I think, Kuba, Kouba, formerly with Habitat for Humanity and a couple other nonprofits. Wanted to point out in the packet, a couple of customer service thank yous to our staff. I always like hearing those from the community, so I like to share those with you all. And then as we've started the last couple months, I like to continue to have John come up and talk a little bit about what our public outreach is and what we've been doing in that front.
Even. Page 56 in your pack, you got communications report. It's going to touch on a few key highlights from the last month. So we're in the third quarter of our 12-month strategic plan. Our focus is currently on water conservation. We're counting the various services and resources we have for folks to help them conserve water. Continued strong performance on the website and on our emails. Those are two big tools for us. June came in very strong as far as visitation up to the website, third highest month ever. So we're going to keep those numbers trending in that same direction. Third page of that report, just a few examples of some of our marketing that's out right now that is water conservation focused. Our main outlets continue to be Community Impact, Chronicle, and Woodlands Community Magazine, a variety of print and digital. All of those pieces will link to the website, so we're connecting visitors with more information, providing more service to them in a very accessible. We're looking to add Nextdoor to our suite of social media platforms. That's in process. We haven't done that yet. Just one more way for us to try to control the narrative before rumors start. Just get information out in front of the public. Very much like the law enforcement agencies do, fire department and so forth. Won't be responding to, to threats or anything like that. We're just pushing out information like we do on our other platforms. The communications consultant that SGRA is put up bid is that process is moving along very well. We did get 5 proposals. We had some high quality proposals there. Members of the Public Education Committee and Woodlands Water staff met, reviewed those proposals, provided that input to SGRA. They're taking that forward, feeding that into their evaluation process, and their board should vote on their preferred candidate on the 24th of August. So hopefully we'll have an outfit begin to work with sometime in September. And then finally, just want to put this out there that we really want to hear what you're hearing. When you're out there talking to residents, to customers, what kind of questions are you getting? What kind of input are you receiving? That qualitative data, that information is really helpful to us. And we have other tools for gathering information. We have community surveys. We have some of the statistics here that we gather through our digital media. But we want to marry that with info we're getting in our one-on-one interaction. So you guys are key in that. Please let me know what you're hearing. Shoot me an email, shoot Eric an email, give me a phone call, whatever's convenient. But really appreciate you being a conduit to the community. Any questions?
Comment, you sent out an email, which was terrific, and want to compliment you on Woodlands Water offers free home sewer line inspections. It would be great if you could put that on the invoices or the bills to everybody in 46. That would show that we're doing something positive for our constituents.
That could be great material for monthly bill ad. Every month on the back of the bill, we have a third of the page dedicated to new ad. I think that'd be an excellent thing to put on there. And we are, by the way, in process of redesigning the back of the water bill to make it easier for folks to figure out how the water bill is calculated and make better use of some of the real estate there to advertise the various resources we have for them.
So I'll be honest, I don't look at my water bill. It just auto, it comes through my email. I don't get it in the mail. I get paperless.
Right.
It's auto paid. But what I do look at is Twitter. And I've noticed that I don't know if it's because I'm not paying for the Twitter or whatever. I don't really see the Woodlands Water tweet. And so are y'all paying for the little check mark? And are you going to go through Threads also? I'm not on Threads. I haven't. Those are my questions.
Yeah.
That's honestly really where I get my information, and TikTok. But I don't think you're going to make a TikTok.
We looked at TikTok. I think there's a lot of controversy around TikTok right now.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of letting all that unfold before we would
Okay.
wade into that. Threads, we need to look at that.
Okay.
That's gained a lot of traction.
Mhm.
That might be a key one for us. Twitter, we have historically reserved for very news specific items, community announcements about a water break, into that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can't use that differently.
Yeah. So
Facebook,
for
we have-
Twitter, like if you put that sewer, I don't know. I don't check emails either because I've got 20,000 in my inbox. But Twitter, I do look at every day and on all the social media.
One of the things we'll be doing as we move forward and in conjunction with this new communications consultant is looking at our social media in total.
Okay.
How are they working together? How can we improve each platform? How can we make it?
Oh, and also Instagram, not Facebook. I don't use Facebook.
And Instagram as well. Yeah, we've got some development to do there.
Okay.
Facebook, we're pretty robust on. Others, I think we need to do some work.
Yeah, I just noticed, like me, I don't get on Facebook that much at all ever. But Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, those are the ones that so maybe other people in the community are like me and they're not seeing this because they don't open their email.
For sure, we know we can't put all our eggs in one basket. We don't
Okay.
know that, absolutely.
Back to the paper bill.
Yes.
I noticed we round down to the nearest thousand. Yeah, so if you want to calculate your water rate, if you use 6,005 gallons, it gives you, 6,995 gallons, it prints it out as 6,000 gallons. You know what I mean? I don't know if people look at that, but that can, I scratched my head for a while for that. And then I kind of don't like the GRP fee not included in the fresh water because it's all fresh water. You know what I mean? The groundwater, the $2.99 per 1,000
version fee.
Right? That's like a bottom number. You have water, sewage, and then at the bottom you have this other amount, which is probably 95% of your fresh water rate. And we put it down at the bottom, but it's for the pipeline. But to me, that's still the cost of delivering water. And to me, we should put freshwater, that fee, you know what I mean, as part of freshwater, then total it and say total freshwater, something like that. Because, you know, with this, before you got here, there was discussions about taking this, all this $500 million, right? And put that down below the water line and say that's another fee. And be honest with you, to me, we should be transparent about the true cost of water, and we shouldn't try to hide it by, having all these fees. And I'd like to get, we can have different, A, B, C, but when you draw the line that says this is what my fresh water cost, so that if someone can look at it and understand it, I don't want to hide things. And I think by having the pipeline fee, this is called that, it's misinformative to the public that that's the cost of delivering water. And it's like having an airline with no planes, right? It's the capital charge.
Are you saying similar to like a cell phone bill where it's like it breaks it all out and it's not?
No, they break it out now. They just separate them in the bill. So what it says is here's your fresh water, here's your wastewater, and it gives you dollars. And then it comes down on the lower part of the bill and it says, what's the fee called? I call it the
Service water conversion fee.
water conversion fee. It has that price of water.
It's a valid point.
And to me, just, you want to keep them separate, move them together, put another line that says total freshwater cost. You know what I mean? And I think it's simple because there was a point when Jim was here, he was talking about taking this 500 million and putting that down below as a separate charge. So we pretend we're delivering water cheaper. You mean, and I'd like to get away from that. And,
All right.
and also, I like the website, the smart meter, although it seems to me that, and I need to learn, but I've changed my settings. It seems like I say, I've used 1,000 gallons, and then 4 days later, it says I've used 1,000 gallons again, but I don't, it seems to repeat itself.
You
Yeah.
can go in and affect those settings. Yeah, you might just. need
Yeah,
to
it seems to repeat itself
Adjust that.
some days for the same amount, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's looks back 5 days or something like that. I just noticed that, I'm paying attention to
Try
that.
playing with your settings. It might see what that does.
Yeah, I changed the settings. That's when it began.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, good report. All right, let's go to the item 21. Eric, do you want to give it or?
There was either one, there's a lot of discussion on AC. You've heard the results of that already. Two highlights for the trustees approved the addition of the Vertex One billing software.
Okay.
So that'll fold nicely into this discussion about the Water Smart interface. And then also the trustees approved the 2024 WWA salary budget. Long story short on that is effectively it's about $150,000 reduction in the budget from 2023. Most of that was the overlap between Jim and I for this year, as well as another position that we're holding vacant, that we believe we can hold vacant while we transition to the new software. And hopefully we won't need to get that.
Until that position.
Fill that position. So
All right,
that was kind of the highlights.
all right, very good.
Can I just ask a very quick question about this GRP projection and related financial? Does this basically just mean that, so production has increased by the end of fiscal year 22 instead of held at budgeted level? And then I suppose they're asking if the revenue received would cover the additional expenses. So the way I'm reading that is that there's additional expenses for the GRP, but there's additional production also. So somebody wanted to know if those additional expenses were getting covered. Was that the question?
In essence, the question came from Mr. Smith, but
Oh, okay.
so he can probably explain.
Oh, what was your question on that?
The question I had was in August, right? They had budget problems and they took people off surface water and put them on groundwater.
What people?
People in Conroe. Did you do Woodlands?
Well, no, I'll explain that portion of it. So what we did was by July 31st of 2022, we had already met full budget expenses. And we've also already produced everything that the GRP review committee and our board said we could produce from GRP. So we asked the board, what do you want us to do? Turn off the plant for a month, keep producing it like it is, or reduce it down to 12 MGD, which was the budgeted amount. The review committee discussed, they said, let's go down to 12 MGD. So we didn't remove anybody from surface water. All we did was say your allocation, because it was a drought, so they were just taking as much as they could. Their allocation was then broken down to whatever program share they had at 12 MGD. So that's what happens.
So my concern, and it still remains with that discussion, is that if you look at their budget, right, 50%, I'm gonna round the numbers, 50% is debt, right? 25% of the cost is what I call fixed overheads, salaries and stuff like that. That doesn't vary per gallon, right? It doesn't vary per gallon. And then 25% is costs that are driven by 1,000 gallons a month consumption. So it's chemicals, it's filters and stuff like that. And that's variable. So it varies with production. So, see, when you have a big asset like a pipeline, right? It's, the object is to pump as much through it as possible, because what happens after you get budget, and I got 4 pennies here, right? After you get budgets, right? And you make the budget, that means you've paid the debt, you've paid the salaries, right? And so that's profit in a commercial line, and that's the expense. So once they hit budget, that means they paid the debt for the month, they paid the salaries for the month. And everything you pumped out of that line, 75% of it now is profit. It goes into your pocket, your profit pocket. And only this goes out every 1,000 gallons. And that's the general problem we have. And then the second, what motivates them differently is this $2.99 fee that everybody's supposed to pay.
Well, if I can just throw something out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of motivation for us, just like we do with the MUDs and the trustees. We go to the review committee and say, this is what we have, these are the options. What do y'all want to do? They voted to direct us on how to go forward. And so at that point, we took their direction and we moved forward. If they voted to say, keep running the plant at full throttle, bump it up to 30 MGD, then that's what we would have done. They voted to direct us how to go. Now, we do receive more money with the $2.99 fee, because you're getting the groundwater pumpage fee without producing anything. But there is no motivation behind it. It's just like with any MUD. We presented a problem, presented some solutions. Review committee voted, gave us direction, and we followed their direction.
I want to make a comment. And I come from a manufacturing environment, not pipeline. It's, in a manufacturing plant, you have variable and fixed costs like you're describing, and their accounting system, and it may be SAP, they account for the variable separate from the fixed cost. And so if you ramp up production, your variable cost budget goes up with it. And you, as a result of ramping up production, you bring in more revenue because you sold more. And their accounting system takes care of all that. So I look at y'all and I'm thinking your accounting system is not really sophisticated enough to consider the variable cost versus, fixed cost.
I agree 110% with you. We're in the process now of replacing the entire accounting software with the new up-to-date accounting software. I don't know if it does exactly that, but a lot of this is we're not for profit. So
Well, it doesn't matter whether you're for profit or not.
Right.
It's, your budget changes as you change production.
I get that, but just keep in mind, everything you're saying is very good, very valid, but there's also 149 other water systems. There's 180 other participants. So if y'all feel strongly about this, I'd recommend you go tell the GRP review committee, let them know your thoughts, because they give me direction.
Well,
The
Mike, there goes
resolution
my vote.
was what?
I'm sorry.
What is the resolution for his question? You're just gonna talk about it next month, or?
I'll say, I go to 75% of the GRP meetings and the board meetings. And I guess the observation I have is when this event stood, one of the managers stood up, and spoke. And this is that's the extent of the discussion. See, I guess what I would think would happen is they come with three options and say, this is, they should present a solution to the problem, not just, stop making water.
We
You know what I mean?
presented three options.
And I didn't hear alternatives. I just heard one. Am I wrong or?
I presented,
I thought it was Ed that presented it that day.
no, I presented, he always assists, but they were presented by me because we're the ones who identified.
Yeah, he's our trustee, so I didn't know. who
Yeah,
that
I mean, this
was.
is,
Yeah.
this was, we can look at the tape. It's been a year.
We're tabling this.
Yeah, it's table. It's getting too involved.
Yeah, all right.
It's too.
I'm gonna move on. All right. Katie, do you have anything for us?
Nope.
All right. Item 24, for next month, we have the notes from the meeting between Mud 46 and Howard Hughes.
Yep.
Okay, we also have the rewrite of the resolution from Dave.
Yep.
Anything else? All right, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.